the guardians behind the breath line of Source returning, going to dive into the white lion brotherhood and the sisterhood of the lioness and the rose. Now in this video, I'm going to get into what is actually happening in the planetary field right now and why so many of us are feeling it in our bodies, and who the living structures are, the frequencies that are holding this convergence moment, specifically the Great White Lion Brotherhood and the Sisterhood of the Lioness Rose. Now, if you found your way here from the Rose and White Lion video that I shared as a foundation recently, then what follows here, I would say, is going to be a deeper layer, as I mentioned in that other video. And that piece was the entry point, the living invitation into the frequencies themselves. And so this begins more of a series of remembrance that I feel is time to share out loud, as I've been holding onto some of this for a long time, but the right now is also very key here. Now, it is the full breathline architecture behind those lineages of frequency. This has nothing to do with bloodlines, and I'm reaching back through cycles and into breathlines of memory that I carry. And no matter what date that you watch this specific window, let it be known, March 2026 is the moment that these teachings really needed to be shared, and is a really important time frame which will impact far-reaching into the future in a beautiful way for the good of all. Hello, I'm Natalie Viglione, and if you've watched a video before, welcome back. If you have not, hello, I'm Natalie with Awakening Magick, and to let you know some background, I serve as a vibrational medicine guide, and I help dogs and I help cats and humans, and what I guide in is restoring the body's original harmonic frequency through the vibrational medicine framework that I bring through minerals, living water, flower essences, plant medicine, and more. And coherence is the body's innate and original state. And so I create custom herbal blends, flower essences. I've even recently published a poetry book that winds this all together. And I've walked this entire path myself, rebuilding my own body from complete depletion to vibrancy, and I work on this every single day. And my husband, Mark, and I are creating Forge and Flow. It's a sanctum, and we have land out in eastern Tennessee. We've called it One Song Grove, and we are building Sacred Soul Health Ministry as this living container. So links are below to explore. Okay. So I want to start by telling you what I'm feeling in my body right now, as of literally yesterday. I was looking at the date, because this is the most honest entry point, I think, into everything that follows. So the left lateral line of my body lit up in a way that I can only describe as an expansion, breath expansion. And I've been following this and tracking these tendons and dragon lines in the body. And that specific lateral line on the left side is a tendon and fascia line that runs from the foot all the way up through the leg into the torso. This is actually called the Dragon Spiral Conduit. And this is something that I talk about in my private sessions with folks. So it is a scalar harmonic channel through which the feminine breath line returns and re-enters the body. This feminine breath line is also named Tiamat. Now, you've may heard Tiamat as a myth or a legend, but all of those are not providing the real truth of what this means. And so when this line activates in the body, and what it is doing is the spiral is coming through in the body to stabilize the actual living light field of Earth. So if you've been feeling anything like this, I wanted to drop that. But what just happened on the planetary level is that the Earth and the sun has now totally phase locked in alignment. This is so powerful. Now, what happens is There was a phase lock on March 18th of 2026. And that phase lock of the sun and the earth is locking with eternal living source. So this is how powerful this is, because it's when coherence becomes default. So this phase lock allows coherence to be the essence that overrides dissonance. And so it's the core of return. The core of the spiral is this source, this God source, if using these different words. With this return, with this phase locking of sun and earth, there's grief that comes with this. And this is because it's not really emotional in the way we may usually think of grief, but it's basically like a breath line release of grief, of emotions. So I know there's many people grieving right now. Many of you may not even be sure why, but the true underlying is because there's something that's finally right. If we connect into the actual grid, the actual architecture of what's happening. And the body knows first, so awareness and remembering then follow that. So if you feel this in your body, if you feel these things kind of releasing, it's the spiral that has been exiled, that is no longer exiled. And now what needs to happen is making room for the breath line of return. Now, when the spiral anchors, when the source breath anchors, the real source, true source, what happens is it pushes out residual density and emotional memory, and any breath line distortions that have been held in the body begins to empty what it no longer needs to carry. And this grief that maybe you are feeling as well does not require a story, processing, or these conventional therapeutic things, but it requires breath, patience, and the willingness to let the spiral move through without collapsing. You're not grieving, you're really emptying, clearing things out, so making space. Let me have some tea. Okay. So this is a personal entry point into what is actually a planetary convergence happening. And I want to name what that convergence is as well right now. So we've been in a 90-day arc since January 2026 that is really called, what I have felt is the Tiamat arc. Now, I've talked about this more in depth on my Harmonic Magic transmissions that I send out monthly. You can join my email list if you want to get those. So January was the inhale of the mother, the primal waters moving inward. Now, this is like super general, high overview, but then we moved into February, cycle shift, the fire horse in full gallop, burning what's not aligned, which will continue, by the way. And it's asking for a rewiring of the nervous system in individuals, but at a collective level as well. And driving dormant fields to the surface, that is the revealing component. And asking bodies to get vibrationally pure. And this is not just energetic bodies, but the actual physical body too. And not just spiritual stuff, like actual physical work. So March is the water rising, and the time that is being recorded right now in the primal waters, the moment of the feminine face of source, the feminine breath of source, that which is the carrier of that scalar harmonic field, which is actually Tiamat. And at the current time, this is fully entering the collective field. It's the maternal harmonic. I've had many dreams sharing this, and it's been amazing, which I'll continue to share. And it's even like coming through in flower essences that need to be made, that I've made and created. And so there's a lot of things coming. But in the framework of true source, true God source, say whatever words resonate, March 20th, 2026 has been documented in my field, and I am calling it the Braid Click, which is the convergence point where the body, the astral field, not only our own, but obviously with Earth as well, and the original sound, the origin of source memory aligns. It's not an event like people keep talking about, some big solar flare. which is not ever going to happen, by the way. I'll do another video on all that, but the solar flare narrative is beyond misleading, and it's not source and earth aligned event. It's a projection that promises transformation without anyone doing any actual physical or energetic or bodily type of work to return to a state of coherence from within. So deep within as well, down to the levels of the minerals in the body, the kind of water that's in the cells. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. So I'll share another video on that, but this is why I want to share this now, is because in this window, even at this moment that I'm speaking, we have the spring equinox portal in the north, and then it's meeting in the south, the start of autumn. Now, this is a birth canal moment of resurrection and light. One spiral is exhaling, autumn, closing out breath, releasing memory, completing cycles, and the other spiral is inhaling, rising in breath, igniting light, birthing new geometry in our field. And so this is a very powerful moment for all of this to converge in general, but it's all connected into this sun and earth and source phase lock. Now I want to speak to the living structures that are actually holding this moment, because the Braid Click is not something that's happening in isolation as one big thing, or it's not just about like the spring and autumn equinoxes or anything. It is actually held by two massive harmonic frequencies, if we will, two harmonic frequency fields, frequency containers that hold the breath line of source spiral as it re-enters the earth and aligns with the sun, has aligned with the sun. This isn't some future thing. This is like it happened. And these two frequency containers are the Great White Lion Brotherhood and the Sisterhood of the Lioness and the Rose. And again, you can watch the video that I mentioned, the spiral of the lineage of the Rose and the White Lion and Lioness, that I just put out. And that is about the breath line of love and guardianship. It's sort of a precursor to this video, I guess I would say. And I actually have spoken on this frequency periodically throughout the time I've had the Awakening Magic channel, and on my Awakening Magic website, of course, as well. But the Great White Lion Brotherhood, that is the holder of the masculine breath line, which is structure and protection and that geometry. And it anchors the breath of source through courage, sovereignty, stillness. And it's often associated with the solar spiral, the heart of the sun, and with the ancient lineages called the breath of kings. But it is not some organization, and it's not a hierarchy of any kind. It's a breath line convergence field. So think of it like a living spiral that holds the memory imprints of coherence in the masculine energetic scalar field. It consists of beings both incarnate and not incarnate who have anchored their monad and stabilized their breath line and entered service through coherence rather than identity. And to speak on this really quickly, monad. So this means the original breath of if you were talking about you, of an origin of you as a soul. That means you remember fully your entire beingness through cycles, and then you anchor that and stabilize that original breath line, and you become the still point through which source breathes again. So it's not about becoming divine or some hierarchy or identity and calling yourself something. It's not anything like that, but it is about remembering the geometry of your origin, meaning of your soul. And there's the Sisterhood of the Lioness and the Rose. This holds the feminine breath line, which is receptivity, remembrance, protection of the innocent, and that spiral. And it anchors the breath of source through compassion, beauty, and harmonic resonance. And it's often linked to many things. So this is the conversations you've heard about Venus, the lioness, the rose, the ancient lineages called the breath of the womb. And it is anchored by those of us who carry the lioness, who carry the rose breath line as frequencies. And it can appear in our fields as softness and spiral containment and harmonic memory in the field, where the Great White Lion Brotherhood holds the breath line ignition spiral, we could say. The sisterhood of the lioness and the rose holds the breath line containment spiral. And together, they're holding this all right. Now, it's architectural anchors, okay? Think of it that way. And these two breath lines of frequency, again, we're not talking about bloodlines on Earth or anything. No one's special and like chosen and all that. These are frequencies to align to. They've formed a convergence where both fields have come fully online simultaneously. The lion holds the field, the rose lioness spirals the breath. Now, and the breath of source, of God's source, again, say whatever resonates, is not returning through one single breath line alone, but through the convergence of both of these as anchoring points. So that's why it's happening right now and will be like unfolding and blossoming for some time. And it's very significant because these activations of these frequency containers will carry resonance into bodies, into Earth, through the sun. So these are two very massive harmonic fields phase locking in the planetary grid for the first time, which I've come to feel as the first time in literally a cycle, meaning 26,000 approximate years in Earth time. And this, of course, responds to a full precessional cycle. Now, together, they form the lion and the lioness and the rose, the breath line geometry that stabilizes the monadic spiral on Earth. So the white lion cannot stabilize without the lioness and the rose spiral, and the lioness rose spiral cannot activate without the white lion breath line. So one ignites and the other contains. This is what is holding the field through everything that we are moving through right now. Now, what you're receiving here is remembrance, because it comes through the body, and I'm sharing it because the planetary grid, I feel, is very ready to receive this in a way that hasn't really been available until right now in this, because of these containers and because what actually is just phase locked. So if you feel something move in you as you listen, that is recognition, my friends. That is the breath line, remembering through your very breath line, your monadic spiral. And so it's not really material to be understood, but definitely felt, not taken in all at once, but to be felt over time, return to, breathed through. So let this be named that March 2026 has been documented as the Braid Click, which is the convergence point where this field is being held. The true source, not some man in the clouds, and that entire breath encoded geometry is phase locked through the sun and with the earth, held by the great white lion architectural frequency and the lioness rose architectural frequency. Now, why this matters is because the planet can now breathe, for those who choose to breathe, as one spiral, because more of humanity's very breath and every breath taken in choice has the option to carry the true memory of source, not hijacked versions, religious overtone versions. Now, this is monumental, seriously. So, for humans to remember that they must support their body's geometry, restoring the crystalline scaffolding in the body itself vibrationally, minerals, coherent water, core foundational stuff, grounding, things, plus the energetic residue of the emotions and clearings of that emotional residue, these kinds of things, lots of things. But that is very deep work. And it asks for people action and doing the things every single day, not just praying things to be okay, but seriously doing the work. Now that will mean to those, they will receive memory through resonance. That deep work allows the breath line to flow through the body without distortion. Now that also means people could also begin, so many could begin to have flashbacks, dreams, sudden knowings, feeling deep emotions or sensations that like don't really match their current life or what's really happening in the out there-ness. And this isn't meant about to be like a confusion, but it is really the breathline memory reactivating from within. Now I know that this doesn't also match what's going on in the out there because there's a lot of collapse. But the truth is that this is a momentous occasion, and please share this with others who need to hear this, because we should all really be celebrating, even though there's a lot of other things happening, right? But save it, share it, celebrate it. It's hard to fathom in a world that seems to be, that is, crumbling. But let me tell you, that is the dissonance that's caving in on itself. Now, we can hold space, we can hold grief, we can hold compassion, we can also have joy and celebration in our hearts, because what we're really being asked to do, this is the bottom line truth, is that we are going to be living in a paradox. And that is just going to be how it is for some time. We hold on to the truth of what it is to remember, what always should have been, while we also can hold grief and much love and compassion for all that is caving in around us. But much love to you all, and thank you so much for watching.